insurance agent.
Yeah, because I have two little
That's not
kids
an
right
answer I
next to
can-
me, and they go right out in the courtyard and play, and now we have a broken gate. So what happens if they go?
Which
and
gate
go
are
in
you
the-
speaking of, Susan?
Huh?
Which gate are you speaking of?
The pool gate.
The pool
So
gate.
what if they went into the pool and they fell in the pool?
Do you only have one gate into your pool, or do you have two?
Two.
Okay.
Which one is it?
The
That's
one
broken.
that was,
The one on the south side or the one on the north side?
the one on Megan's side.
That's the south side.
Okay, can I make a recommendation on this subject? That we have all of the pool gates checked to ensure they spring closed, and if they don't, they be repaired.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
I mean, the spring should
It's
shut it. that way-
Rehanging of the gates, what you mean?
Yeah, we have,
Because it's sad.
let's have them
Something Abraham
adjusted
can fix?
to ensure they actually shut on their own. And that way we can move on from this subject. I mean,
Maybe that's
they-
something Corey can take a look at, because,
No, Corey is pool guy only, he can't do fencing stuff.
Or maybe he has a reference.
But, I mean, maybe it's something like John Gubernat could take a look at it for us.
Just get
I
a
don't-
fencing company and get them fixed.
Somebody, I mean, I think we need to make sure that the pool gates themselves actually, and actually the courtyard gates, they should swing shut. So there shouldn't be any of this leaving them ajar and allowing
Yeah,
people to
that-
have access.
Yeah,
So,
courtyard gates
I
is
mean,
not
I've
happening.
only been here 2 months and
they're open.
the gates to the courtyards are
Yep.
constantly left open.
Yep,
Yeah,
remember when I was
that's
saying
a
that?
problem.
And
Yeah.
that's not only a kid issue,
No.
but it's a security
security
issue.
issue.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, when I'm
So-
here, I check, cause I know like during season,
know why
sometimes
that-
they're
you
left
know why
open, and
that's
Susan
happening?
goes around and
You know
makes sure
why
they're
that-
shut.
You know
All
why
right,
that's happening?
so-
That's happening because all the rectors don't have keys.
If they don't have keys,
They
they
need
need
to
to,
know.
they need to work with their cluster director to obtain one.
I haven't had any
So-
requests, I can tell you, I mean, I have
Okay,
extra keys, but
So
never.
we are moving on from this subject because we're going to look at having all of the gates adjusted to ensure they close automatically.
Yeah.
So we're not dealing with gates ajar, little kids potentially running, cause, I don't know,
Ours
unless you
don't.
got a giant kid, they're not gonna be able to reach to unlock those things.
So
I have
number
trouble.
10 minors, I'm just gonna get rid of the
Get rid of it
title, I'm
and
still
put-
gonna leave the language, it's already in the pool section, I'm gonna leave it now in the courtyard section.
Okay.
Alright, bicycles, skateboards. Oh, there's a lot of stuff here, holy moly.
So we're saying no bicycles, skateboards, roller skates, scooters shall be ridden on the sidewalks, pool decks, parking areas.
Parking areas are hard because
Yeah, it's kind of the whole,
That's the whole complex.
that's another one that's
I
not
mean,
enforceable,
in
and
other
I
words,
see kids
don't bring
riding
your
around their
kids.
bike all the time, and I hate to tell little kids, don't ride, you can't ride around your bike in the neighborhood, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know how to language that.
I mean, I don't think they should be on sidewalks or skateboards should be on sidewalks because people are walking
yeah.
and they are narrow. But I think the parking areas is rather hard to
Yeah.
do.
And landscape areas around the clubhouse or courtyard areas.
And then
So
the
you
big
can't be in
problem
the
is
parking lot, you can't be on the sidewalk, you can't be on the grass.
Where are you gonna be? You can't ride
So
your
you
bike.
better just go
Don't
hang
bring
out
it,
on
don't
Manatee
bring it.
Avenue.
Don't have a
Yeah.
bike is basically what we're
don't
saying.
have a bank, yeah.
Don't have a kid. is what you're
But
saying.
the other
Very
side
much,
of that is that we already know lots of people are doing it, and the bigger issue is people not storing them properly, right? Because we have lots of, like, you know,
true.
especially the condos where there's a second unit, you'll go in that little alcove stairway area, and there's 2 or 3 junky bikes that have been sitting there
Well, I
forever, you know?
underline that in the second paragraph because it says they should not be left on the grounds and when not in use must be stored inside the unit, the storage space assigned to the unit, or the lanai or balcony.
Right.
But we have sent some letters to people to please move that stuff off the balcony and the lanai
Right.
because it's not a storage area.
Right.
So you've got discrepancies here you gotta fix.
Mm-hmm.
And we still have, did you buy Laura Whaley's place?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Susan.
Hi,
Nice to
Susan.
Nice to meet you.
We
And
can
we
issue
still-
those labels
We
later,
still have
right?
those 2 bikes since I rode up since 2022 in front of her house now,
Mhm.
still.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they belonged to the girls upstairs, but I'm not sure.
Yes.
But they shouldn't be there. They should
Oh.
not be changed to that stairway.
And,
Chained to the stairway.
Okay, so looking at bikes, skateboards, rollers, scooters, I think we have to remove the piece about parking areas.
Yeah.
Don, Robin, Charlie, do you have any concerns with that?
I'm not for removing any of the rules on that. This community was designed for
55 and over.
55 and older, and it can't really be adapted. I mean, should we make a playground then, I guess, you know?
I'm not disagreeing with you, Charlie, but unfortunately, from
Yeah.
my understanding is the 55 and older isn't even enforceable.
No,
No,
it's
it's
no
not.
longer the community
Right,
that
but
we
what
are.
I'm saying is the community was not designed for
Yeah,
large families or even families with children.
yeah.
And if people choose to come here and live here, they need to live within our rules, because it doesn't work to have kids on the sidewalks, doesn't work to have kids running up and down the roads, in the parking lots. It's not, it's really not a workable
Well,
solution.
it's just one of those rules
Right.
that's in here, but again, I guess it's enforceable because we have sent letters, but we all know that I see kids riding their bikes and stuff
I
all the
wouldn't
time.
take it out, because you own the roads.
Exactly, but I mean, I'm probably not gonna go outside and yell at a kid to stop riding his bike either, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, unless they're being disruptive or, upsetting someone, but I don't see any of us really, I don't know.
But if it's in here, anybody who is disruptive, we can use it.
We could, yeah.
Now, on the lanai or the balcony of the unit, so the board really needs to make a decision now, that stays in or goes out? Because that, I know for a fact, even since I've been back on Pebble Springs, that has been waffled about depending on, if we're walking around and there's 3 bikes on the, on the balcony.
Yeah, I
Not the
personally
balcony,
think
what's
it
it
looks
called?
junky because
Lanai.
it just does. I don't know
Well-
what else to say.
Messy.
It looks messy, it's not uniform,
Cluttered
it
and
looks
crowded.
cluttered, yeah.
Well, balcony should definitely stay, because the balconies are your walkways, right?
Mhm.
But the lanai,
That's,
Yeah.
balconies are fire law.
yep.
What do you guys think about the lanais?
Nope.
Well, I'm gonna just say, my nephew's bike got stolen in the courtyard,
Wow.
locked on the bike rack.
Hmm.
Oh, my God.
And I know somebody else had theirs
That's terrible.
also in my cluster, so, you
And so
know,
that means they're getting in through the fence, like because
Yeah.
Went into
they hopped the fence,
yeah.
they hopped the fence,
Mm.
Well,
It's terrible.
hopped the lock.
me and my brother
Another
both
vote
had
for
bikes
Razor
when we were growing up, and we put one in our closet, and then on the lanai, we hung it upside down diagonally, and we still had furniture to sit in. So,
Yeah,
that's the way we dealt with the rule.
Is there a way to make the rule where it's allowed if it's not blatantly visible? And again, I'll give you an example. Along my brick wall, you can't see it walking around, but I have, those things you can buy for like beach chairs, for example. So I have all my beach chairs hanging. No one can see it, and it's nice and organized, but it's not within plain view, so when people are walking by, they don't see a bunch of junk sitting out. So again, should it say something like, anything stored in the lanai should not be in plain view? Or, because we have that closet area too.
Yes
I don't
and
know.
no. So you have certain rights as to what an owner can or cannot do inside of a lanai, such as the gas, such as living quarters, the one we had with the bed, the trash. There are certain things in your documents, but now we're getting specific as to, can we have a 2-foot planter or a 4-foot planter?
Well, that's what you're
or
saying, and what we
a
deem
little
is
tiny
offensive and
tricycle
all that
or
stuff,
a
yeah.
giant mountain bike. Where do you want people to put them? If they can't fit it in their closet, they have to take it in their unit. Does the board, it already says they can store it on the lanai. I only underline that because I think you need to take out the or balcony of a unit.
Yeah.
I think the or balcony needs to come out. I brought it up just to remind you.
Are we talking about an enclosed lanai? Because not all of the areas that are designated lanai are enclosed.
I think if you look up the definition of lanai, it is enclosed. I think otherwise a
Okay.
porch or a patio or
Okay,
something.
because I would call it a patio myself.
Janet, Chris Allen, that you've been in contact with several times,
Who?
Chris Allen,
Chris Allen.
Okay.
he's in 6301.
I don't know, lanai's a porch or a veranda.
Anyway, he's in Atlanta, and he's a snowbird, but he's a very prominent home remodeler.
Mhm.
And he said that the lanais, so to speak, with a glass enclosure is a sunroom. With a screen deal, it's a lanai.
Mhm.
Well, here's my thought, if they have that type of room, nobody's gonna be able to see what's in there, so it doesn't really matter, right? Like, if they have the screens in the enclosed room, no one's gonna be able to see that.
Yeah, you can see it.
Well, a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. I mean.
I think if we're gonna stick with the rules that they shouldn't be riding their bikes, they shouldn't be riding any of this, then it should still say, you know,
No kids
still have the rules
allowed.
about proper storage of them.
Well, we need to take
Take
out
the
the or
balcony out.
balcony out,
Yeah.
yeah, because they can't be parking that stuff on the balcony, yep.
We have a lot of porches with no screening, no nothing.
Then that's a patio, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, agree.
All right, so
Nice
we're gonna
porch
take
patio.
out or balcony because obviously we can't include that in there.
Right.
Adult tricycle, bicycle, okay.
Well, you'll have to clarify then without the screen. You'll have
They
to-
should have screens, right? Like, or
No,
some kind
not all of them do.
Well, I guess what I'm talking about is it should be in good functioning order, meaning people that have like the screened in lanais, if it's all torn up in holes, they will get a compliance
Let me
order.
clarify something
Yeah.
and be very clear on this, because I don't know what board did it or when it was done.
Mhm.
If you do not have a lanai attached to your unit from the developer, or applied to modify your unit to add a lanai and install it to match the others,
Mhm.
it belongs to us. It's
Mhm.
common area. There shouldn't be a common element. It shouldn't
Is
be
that the
bikes
patio,
on it.
the patio that
That's the
has
thing,
remained?
no one has a patio, no one has a patio. Did a whole bunch of people, especially in your cluster,
In
they've
my
all got these
cluster.
beautiful patios put down
No,
on
that's in two.
common element. Is
Yeah,
it,
in
oh yeah,
Megan's
that's right, it was
cluster.
over,
Megan.
it's common
We got them
element.
all enclosed.
Yeah, it's not, they're not enclosed, people put these beautiful pavers
Yeah.
down, they take care of them, but that is our land, and no, you can't have a bike there, so, no.
Right.
But, easy enough.
Just a thought, guys, now that that new development's going in on 75th, more and more people are gonna be riding bikes to the beach and riding around because traffic's going to be so much more crazy. So maybe more owners are gonna be using bikes. We're thinking all along the kids line, but what about the owners' lines?
Oh, I know those electric bikes are quite popular now. I was thinking about
Well,
getting
I
one.
mean, the bicycles can be parked in the owner's assigned
Either,
parking spot.
yeah, either way, the issue is we can't have them on the balcony.
Yeah,
So.
so
I don't know what to do.
I mean,
I'm just saying we need to clarify, because that's what they do, we need to be able to show them that whether they have no screening, or they have screening, what's, you know, clear. And then, I think we should get a bike rack, no matter what,
Now, that's a good idea, Susan. I
Yeah.
will say this. I have seen communities that have, and again, I'm not saying go, like, that even have like kayak racks or whatever, where they put the kayak. What would it hurt if we put a bike rack in? Or if we
well,
had
I mean,
location?
Dawn had a bike stolen out of her cluster.
That's true too.
I would never trust a bike rack.
I
I have too
mean-
many bikes stolen, I would never use
Yeah.
one.
I mean,
At your own risk.
Yeah.
Park at your own risk.
Yeah,
put a sign there.
Is there no proper way to attach it to the bike rack?
If you have tools, anybody can clip any bike lock in less than 30 seconds.
I'm sure that's
Right.
right.
There's no bike lock that can withstand a return.
Nothing safe outside your closed unit, right?
And it also depends on what kind of biker you are. I mean, I'll use my son as an example, not me, because clearly I don't ride a bike. But, his last bike was $8,000, and he bought the cheap one because he
Yeah,
can't
you-
afford
oh,
the
you're not gonna
expensive
put
one,
an
you know?
expensive
So I
bike
don't,
there. A regular
I don't know
bike,
what the
yeah, not
heck
electric.
they are when they're expensive, but no, he didn't get electric, it's just.
No, you haven't put that there though.
Yeah.
All right, so to be able to move on for now, we just need,
Yeah.
we need to take the balcony piece
Balcony
out.
of
Yeah.
the unit.
Yeah.
Okay,
Get the pets.
all right, pets.
All right, I did what Charlie asked, I put in some recommended language. We are almost at 2 hours and we have a lot of pages to go, so I'm not gonna say a word. You see what I wrote, you tell me, is it sufficient, is it not, do you want something added or subtracted or whatever?
I would like to see it change, but we have to start at the top. So,
What do you wanna see changed?
down in the second to the last paragraph, that line at the very last of that sentence at the end, residents are strongly encouraged to park in their own
Mother,
cluster.
we're on
We're on
pets.
page 5.
We are on pets.
Page 5, number 12, guys, we're looking at pets.
I'm sorry, I turned 2
I'll
pages
read
at
aloud
one
the,
time.
how about this, I'll read the language out loud that, Janet added for Charlie, I believe so. It says, any resident wishing to keep a household pet must complete the pet registration form initially and every January after. The registration form should be accompanied by the shop records and a photo of the pet.
And what can we do if they don't do that?
Just like any other rule that is broken, Susan, we can send them to the attorney and have the attorney send them a letter and you guys pay the bill, or we can get a fining together and put a fine on them, which no one will volunteer for a fining committee.
We need 3 people,
It's
right?
been the same answer for,
It can't be a board member? Right.
or related to.
Or related to a board member.
Yep, it's the same answer, it's just another rule that's being broken, you know?
Yeah.
Janet, did you add that about the Manatee County, following the Manatee County rules, or is that, I sent you an email and said maybe you should add that pet owners need to follow the Manatee County regulations.
I don't know that I did, let me see.
I don't see it on this copy.
Okay, it would just be an additional thing. Every pet is supposed to be registered in Manatee County, and then that assures that they have rabies shots. It's just another encouragement.
Okay.
And then,
Is that part of your process, your registration form, we're asking for?
Yeah, the
Just part of the rules, let's say. But yeah, it is part of the registration rules of our registration, is that you have to get a license number
yeah.
on that form, right?
I just pulled up my manatee and it says, the animal ordinance, a rabies vaccination is required. It is a violation of this ordinance for the owner or custodian of a dog, cat, or ferret to fail to have each dog, cat, or ferret vaccinated with an anti-rabies vaccine as required by this section. That's from my manatee.
Yeah, it's just to add that one sentence that every pet needs to follow the Manatee County regulations.
Yeah, and that says proof of rabies vaccination in a form containing the information required by the registration certificate shall be provided to the owner and the division by the vaccinating veterinarian. It should be available upon request. Such certificate shall be made available to any officer or representative of any enforcement agency.
All right, we're not gonna put the Manatee County language in our rules.
No.
Right.
So how about if I change that sentence, Charlie, the second sentence to read, the registration form should be accompanied by a photo of the pet and the shop records as required by Manatee County.
Yeah.
Because you can have pets that aren't registered in Manatee County,
Right.
that are registered in another county or another state.
No, they have to be registered in Manatee
Manatee
County,
County.
my understanding.
Yeah.
If they live in Manatee County, they have to be registered in Manatee County.
So what about somebody, and I'm just saying, what about me? If I have a dog and I'm down here, I'm down there for a month, I can't bring my dog?
Well, we're not enforcing Manatee County rules as to whether or not you register your dog, but if Manatee County requires you to have a rabies shot, even if you got your dog, his shots up in New York, that
New York.
he needs to have a rabies shot.
Yes, that's all, as long as we adhere to those regulations, but it could be with another state.
Charlie may be right, Manatee County may require you, but we don't care, because we're not gonna force that anyway.
Okay.
We just
thank
wanna
you.
know that you're getting the shots that Manatee County requires while you're here at Pebble Springs.
Perfect, thank you.
Fair enough, Charlie?
Works for me, but just a general statement of that they need to follow Manatee County,
What about vaccination rules?
regulations.
That's the shots.
I'm
Yeah, just,
saying
Yep.
you're basically
vaccination.
saying all animals should be properly up to date on their vaccinations and be able to,
Well, we have to turn
submit
in,
proof of
we have to turn
vaccinations upon
in this.
request. Yeah.
we have to turn in this. I already did mine and sent it in. We have to turn in this, and that has all your vaccinations on it.
Yep.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, household pets should be authorized, provided the following criteria are adhered to. So take out the asterisks that identify how many pets and just put it in there, because I'm tired of hearing from everybody that they can't interpret what an asterisk means.
Now, does this
So I just put a
include,
whole column in there, one pet.
does this Okay.
Susan, I'm
Let's
sorry.
just keep,
I-
let's just keep doing this.
Yeah,
Okay, go ahead.
you are
We're
making
really-
some very good points, but we're 2 hours in, we need to
Alright,
move.
we gotta get going,
Yeah.
so.
So, board, is that sufficient, the way I wrote it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Straight out?
Yes.
Okay. I'll get rid of the asterisks and cross that line off. All right, then go to the next. This is part of what you want, Charlie, the must not be permitted to run loose. I'm adding to that, must be on a leash and under the control of the resident at all times when outside the unit. Because must not be permitted to run loose could mean I took my dog to training and when I tell him to heel or place, he's
Yeah,
right
must
here,
be
he's not
leashed
on
at
a
all
leash.
times, yeah.
And that's part of the Manatee County rules, so that's why I added that
Yeah,
sentence if you
we
want
have
it, that's
someone
up to
here
you.
that doesn't do that.
Sounds good.
Is this a good time to bring up the pets in the courtyard?
I don't know that you, we're gonna check with the attorney, I don't know that you have the right to keep them out.
I'm just saying, I know it says it in the rules, that's why I'm confused. I know when I.
Where?
It said in the rules I was first given, unless it was taken out. It said something about no pets were allowed in the courtyard.
They haven't been updated since March 16th of
They were in
2023,
there.
I'm telling you
we
that they
only
were
did
in
the
there.
parking.
Isn't it in the
That's what they
section?
claim.
They were in there.
I just know I've
They were
seen
in
it.
there. I know it
Yeah.
was there too at one time.
I just
know
read
it
it
was.
recently, it's in there about the courtyard,
Yeah.
in what was sent to us.
And I just think it's
I don't know
somehow.
if
Yeah,
that
let
is-
me see if I can pull it up on my.
This is the most recent thing that,
I know I've.
if people
read
have
it.
older
read it.
ones, that's okay, but this is the one we're changing tonight, so let's
Which is
just
why I
stay
asked-
with
It
this.
doesn't
matter.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't matter, but.
I
other
don't know
people
if
do
you
too.
can,
Other
maybe
people
it was
have more
taken
than
out at some point
one or
because
two
you
pets.
can't.
So what are we?
So
what are we
let's
doing about it?
check
They're
on that,
not-
and if so,
they're
we
not-
can add it under the courtyard section.
Pets not allowed in the courtyard?
Yeah, no pets in the courtyard. If
What
you,
is
you
that
know,
too?
if you're allowed to.
Well, they're going out.
We maybe put it in the newsletter or something that if you do have a dog pickup after them,
Everything's so.
Oh, yeah,
We do it all the
We
time.
do that all the time.
there is dog feces all over the place.
Oh, yeah, because
Yep,
People are
it's enough to make you nuts.
Yeah, I'm not prepared for that question, so we're gonna look that up. Yeah, we can add it too.
All right, we're adding a last
Yeah.
page for
Yeah.
emotional service,
Because it's back.
emotional support animals and service animals. We'll get to that in a minute.
It's for his back, right?
All right,
I did add the must not exceed the number of allowed pets in the unit
Yes.
specific cluster.
Yep.
That's not his back.
so that's.
And what happens if they're not, in compliance?
Then they may have to forego one of their pets.
We've enforced it, we did enforce that with, I was involved, we did enforce it in a cluster that the person had more than one pet. And legally, they signed the document understanding that there is a limit to the number of pets you are allowed in your unit, and that person had to get rid of one of the animals.
Charlie had that happen in his.
That's
No, it
what-
was Charlie's
That's what I'm
large.
talking about, that's what I'm
Okay.
talking about.
That's what I was trying to say, because we got them, got them in our cluster. Megan?
Oh, that's why I'm asking, I know that we have owners that are
Let's-
violating that and have more than.
And the way
identified
that we're
dogs,
gonna
yeah.
do it is we are going to use the attorney to go after these people. So let's jump real quick to the last page about emotional support animals while we are talking about pets, okay? Very last page, we got a lot of handwritten, and thank goodness you got nice handwriting, that's all I can say. All right.
But people say that to me all the time, it's nice and even, but I see it and look, see chicken scratch.
You could have been a teacher. All right. So what we've tentatively added for the emotional support animal section resident is any resident in need of a service animal or emotional support animal, in parentheses ESA, is required to submit an application to the board of directors for approval prior to the animal entering the unit. The application must be accompanied by a letter from a health professional stating that there is a need for the animal. The letter must be signed and the license number of the health professional must be included. The pet rules of the association must be followed at all times, with the exception of the weight, which residents should make every attempt to adhere to when choosing an ESA.
I did not put service animal in there because we're not even gonna touch that.
Service animals
There's a
are
difference.
But
totally
when you're
different.
choosing an emotional support animal,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because we don't have a limit on the breeds here, but we do have a limit on weight. So
Which isn't
Dawn,
followed either.
Robin, Charlie, any feedback on this ESA piece?
Sorry, I had to get my food off. I'm okay with it because, I mean, it's a slippery slope with ESA.
Yeah.
You know,
It should probably be run by the attorney just to
yeah.
check it.
I think it sounds good too, but I agree with Charlie. I think the attorney should look it over, just so we're not, doing something that's gonna have a repercussion afterwards.
I didn't get a chance to do this, but I'm gonna send you guys some information. I have some information on ESAs in general and all of that stuff. I happen to be a licensed provider, so I could write one of those letters. I by practice do not typically, because, just so you understand, you know, and I think you guys do, like, anybody that writes a letter like that, they're not evaluating the dog at all.
No.
They never even see the dog.
They're saying
So
that
they're-
the individual has a need.
Exactly, yeah, so, anyway, but
Just
there's
so
some
you know,
language that I wanted to send you guys.
You guys don't need, I mean, you're welcome to run it by the attorney, but this is not legal language. We are allowed to ask that a health professional put their license on the line and tell us that there is a need for the animal. We can't ask what the need is. There are some follow-up questions that were allowed, may still be allowed, but I didn't even go into that. And I know that you as a board, I don't care if it's a seeing eye dog, if the dog is acting aggressive, or it's not following the rules of the association, or it's doing things that are against, or interrupting people's peaceful enjoyment of their home, the board can get rid of the animal. You can make the animal be gone. That person can have a service animal, just not that one. It's a slippery slope, and you're gonna get the ADA and everybody else involved, you know, and you're gonna need your attorney. But we didn't put anything in here that is legally gonna get you in trouble. All we did was ask for what we're allowed to, say you have to follow all the same rules, and say that you have to fill out an application, which you have an attorney opinion saying you can do that from back when,
Yeah.
before Charlie started with the pictures and yeah, we have that.
And one thing I'm gonna look up, I'm not sure of, can you have more than one ESA?
Can we not have that
Oh, I'm
question
sorry.
and answer out loud in front of everybody?
Yeah.
Oh, I was just wondering,
Yeah.
sorry. Well, it's something that's not being followed.
Yeah, yeah.
Still has to follow the rules of the cluster, so, but anyways,
The actual answer is you need,
one for every,
you need a letter from the doctor
Every
for
animal.
each pet. And if there is a second, that letter needs to say that there is a need for a second. Not just one from Dr. Adams over here and one from Dr. Blake and they don't
That's good to know.
speak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you still have to comply with the rules, so you can't have 4 emotional support animals if your cluster allows
One.
one.
Two.
And they're left, yes, you can.
You can't.
And they're left out on the line barking all day,
Yeah.
they can go. They gotta go. So, yeah, there's certain things you can do and can't do, but yeah, no, Laura, yep, they could.
All right, should we go back to vehicles?
Yeah, let's do that.
So Charlie, having said that, is that ESA language good with you now, or do you still want the attorney? Because we're not putting anything in that's legal.
No, I trust what you're saying, that sounds good.
All
Okay.
right. Okay, vehicles. Vehicles not parked in their assigned spaces or otherwise not properly parked are subject to being towed away at the owner's expense. Decals. Display, what do we have people who do not display their decals in this spot. And we're being told them to display it.
It's in the rules. If the towing company bothers to look for it, sees it elsewhere, and they don't tow the vehicle, good for that owner. But if they get towed because the towing company couldn't find it,
That's their problem.
well, it's right here. I don't know what to tell you.
For the most part, I think
Oh,
people
see,
do put it in.
look at Hank. Can you turn the air conditioner back up to 75? No, I'm just.
Okay, assigned one parking space within the cluster in which the unit is located, and the resident shall park their automobile on the assigned space. Maximum of 2 cars per unit are permitted to park on Pebble Springs property. The second car may be parked in any unmarked spot within the Pebble Springs. Residents are strongly encouraged to park in their own cluster.
Okay. This is where Nancy
Okay.
wants to talk about the paragraph?
Yep.
Charlie, all right.
Okay, so the last, let's see, so the second to last sentence, second car may be parked in any unmarked space within Pebble Springs. I would just add, or visitors space within Pebble Springs.
Laura's gonna answer you nicely, Charlie, with some facts, but I'll just say this, if I were an owner here and my friend was coming to stay, and she had to park over in cluster 5 when I'm over in cluster 6, because some people in cluster 2 didn't feel like walking too far, and they parked in all our visitor spots, I'd be ticked. I'm just throwing that out there. I'd be ticked. If
Okay, so, an actual permit holder or owner who is actually paying for this spot is in the same situation.
Yep, so that's what Laura's going to speak to you about. She did some research.
One of the things that I had asked the directors to do was to look at the report about how many vehicles, how many units are in your cluster that have multiple cars. I pulled the report for every single cluster, and then I hot-footed around this community and I documented the number of visitor spots and the number of unmarked spots. Based on the reports that are on the CNS website, we have 83 units with 2 vehicles tied to it. Now, there are some clusters, like Robin, I would strongly encourage you to take a look at yours, because I think these are people that were simply permitted to be on the property, that have their cars still in the system, and I don't think that they're actually still applicable, but nonetheless, we have 69 unmarked spots on the property, and we have 36 visitor spots. My proposal is we take a look at these 36 visitor spots and we reduce that number down to 20. Because we should not have 36 visitor spots. Janet even thought we had 20. So we have a ton of visitor spots on this property, which then says, why can't we go and paint over where it says visitor and give those spots back to the cluster? I talked to Fiona about it because Fiona's cluster was one of them that was significantly impacted when the rules started to be enforced. Fiona has 13 two-car households. She has 15 unmarked spots and 6 visitors. Fiona would like to take 4 of those visitor spots and paint over them and make them unmarked. In cluster 5, because I counted all of the ones along 59, there are around the cluster 15 visitor spots with 13 unmarked parking spots. Cluster 5 has 16 two-vehicle households.
So you don't even have enough unmarked spots in your area, Charlie,
To
for your
accommodate your
16 two-car households.
My whole thought on this entire exercise is that the way that our parking spots are painted does not need to be set in stone. It should fluctuate based on the population. We have people who move in who might have 2 cars. We have people who move out who have 2 cars and the person coming in has 1. Instead of rewriting the rules to allow them to park in visitor, why don't we adjust the number of visitor spots we have to accommodate the needs of the community by painting over them as an unmarked spot?
Of the owners who live here.
Of the owners who live here. 20 parking spots for visitors seems adequate. Now, I will say this. When I walked around and did this legwork, I closed my move ring, just so you all know, I'm sure you were wondering. I look at cluster 4. Cluster 4 has 16 two-car households, and they have 7 unmarked spots. 7 for 16 units that need 2 spots.
So every night, 9 of the cluster 2 second vehicle owners are going to park somewhere else.
Yeah,
Yep.
my cluster.
That
No,
was
this
where
is cluster
Fiona
4.
gave those extra
This
visitor
is,
spots
I'm talking
up
about
there.
cluster 4 actually.
Oh,
Cluster
this is
4
four.
has a pretty significant need, and And there is no opportunity, unless you wanna take back your visitor spots and send them down to 59, for them to accommodate it. So the only way to really truly accommodate it is to paint over those visitor spots and make them unmarked. And leave the line in the sand saying, if it's a visitor spot, you must be a visitor. If you are a resident, permitted resident, you park in your assigned parking spot first, and then you have overflow into any unmarked spot. That solves the need of the community and allows us to adapt as we need to, as we grow, without having to revisit the rules and rewrite the rules to accommodate that type of stuff.
I agree with you, Laura. I think those extra spots were done, without our knowledge or, and they were added. I know there was a lot of confusion because I know I was promised extra spots because we didn't have any, remember? We didn't have any, and now we have two.
Edna offered them.
Yeah, we have them along the side. They're not regular park, they're along the side.
Yeah.
So we have two, and I think that's sufficient for cluster two.
Yeah.
But
And
that's
one
just-
thing that I think we should also look into doing is, when you leave to go out onto Manatee and you exit, there are 9 visitor spots along there, but there are 4 that specifically abut the fence. What we'd like to do is look into, when you enter from Manatee, can we put like 5 spots along there that might be unmarked, to help kind of with that overflow issue from cluster 2 and cluster 6, and then also look at down 63rd, where we have that stretch along cluster 2 with additional spots. Do we have the space to add additional spots along 63rd to again accommodate cluster 6 and cluster 2 overflow parking?
Yeah, I'm just along 63rd in the evening now, because again, when everybody's at work in the evening, I notice cars parked all along upside the fence. So I don't know that there's any more room for them, but,
Well,
yeah.
down by cluster 6,
Cluster
there are
6,
no
pretty much.
spots.
Yeah,
There
I
are
think you
no
can,
designated
yeah,
spots
take
along
the
by
gravel
cluster 6.
out and then you can make some there.
So these are, I think, again, we wanna make sure that what we have available can fluctuate based on the needs of the community without having to revisit the rules and regs every time we wanna make a change.
Yeah.
So this is
It
the
sounds like our
solution.
owners need them more than visitors, and that's what we're gonna do.
And we have a lot of visitor
Exactly
spots.
right.
You were
And
shocked,
you
Janet, by how many we
cater that
have.
around.
So,
Yeah, I remember sitting here, Charlie and Nancy, you were here. I remember Nancy, you saying you didn't want any.
Right?
So, anybody in cluster 1 who has a visitor come and visit
They park in-
isn't parking in cluster 1, they're taking up a different
They
spot.
go into the visitors on the other
Then,
side of the
cluster
fence.
2 didn't have any, you just got your 2, they didn't have any, so Edna gave some extras, so
Yeah.
that was like 6. She originally did like 4, and then she came back and did like 2 more.
Yeah,
or
I mean,
something
I
like
honestly
that.
don't know if that, because they're
So where the
all
heck
the way
did we
by
get
cluster
36
2.
from?
they are,
I just did 3 clusters, I was at 6.
I have no idea. Because I actually went
Well, you
through and
got
counted
15
it.
down
That would be a
by
good
side.
question, does the total
Cluster
feel?
so I'll give you the numbers, okay? Cluster 1 has 0, cluster 2 has 2, cluster 3 has 2, cluster 4 has 2, cluster 5, because I included the ones along 59, have 15, and cluster 6 has 6. There are 9 that are tied to the clubhouse. So that's how we have 36.
So maybe keep the 9 tied to the clubhouse.
Yep.
And take some from, what are you guys thinking, Charlie, and who's cluster, is that Dawn? Cluster six?
Cluster 6 is Fiona. I talked to
Fiona,
her
that's right.
about it, and she
Go to Charlie.
likes that idea.
What do you think, Charlie?
Here's Charlie.
Charlie?
So,
Charlie
so
has
yeah,
6
I mean, you can reduce the visitors' spots and, but really, what was the problem before we started the heavy enforcement? I mean, what were people complaining about?
We had
And
rules.
Just let me talk for a minute.
Okay, Charlie.
It allowed maximum flexibility for the permit holders because they could park basically anywhere. And now you're gonna increase the number of unmarked spots. Yeah, that's a good thing for the owners, but you're also gonna take away potential visitor spots, so you don't give them any flexibility. They're gonna be limited to certain places. And I'm gonna tell you, if I take any visitor spots away, I'm gonna take, I guess I got 2 that are right by the condos.
Right.
I'm gonna take away visitor spots that are on those two spots.
Yep.
So people have to go farther to find a visitor spot than they did before. So, you know, I'm not gonna win this one. You guys, your minds are made up, so I'm pretty much folding, but I'm just telling you, you're taking away flexibility. You're trying to solve a problem that was not really there before you started to go with the heavy enforcement, so.
So in answer to the heavy enforcement is, there's a couple of issues with that. So number one, when you look back on it, it appears that we had only a few directors who told their residents something other than what was in the rules and regulations, which automatically means that those directors breached their fiduciary responsibility to this community. Because, Charlie, don't laugh, it's the truth.
Well,
It
you know,
is
this
the
is what we
truth.
were told by the towing company, so, you know.
No, it's not just the towing company.
We
This
went
is-
on the best information that we had.
Okay, and the
So
towing
don't give me
company-
this crap that, you know, we're not following the fiduciary responsibility, because we used the best information that were given by the towing company about how they were gonna enforce and so forth. So, I'm just gonna shut up, you know, do what you're gonna do, and that's, you know, I've made my case several times, and I'm not making